Welcome to another edition of How I Would Book It WCW 1998. This is Superbrawl, the second pay-per-view of the year as presented by World Championship Wrestling. That's right, WCW. The opening contest on the show tonight is a rematch from, I want to say, 2 weeks ago on Nitro between Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio for the WCW Cruiserweight Championship. And the last time Eddie won via countout to retain his title, and now Rey Mysterio walks away the Cruiserweight Champion by way of the Springboard Hurricane Rana, winning our opening contest here at Superbrawl. And now we move to the next segment. Three legends: Dusty, Roddy, and the Nature Boy. Now, because of who is in this segment, I would be more than happy to give each and every one of these three men total, complete freedom to write out this segment the best way they can. To determine what they're going to say in this segment, only they know how. I would give him the direction, though, of saying what this interview segment is about. And what this interview segment is about is Flair and Piper talking about how paranoid Flair has gotten over the attacks from the Mystery Man the last few weeks, and how both he and Roddy Piper are ready, willing, and more than able to kick that Masked Man's ass, or the Mystery Man's ass, when he is man enough to show his face. Now we move to the opening contest tonight, or the second contest of the night, which is Steve Mongo McMichael against Alex Wright. And this match ended via disqualification after Deborah McMichael got involved, costing her new client, Alex Wright, the match, and allowing her former client, Steve McMichael, to be victorious. Of course, following the match, Deborah and Alex Wright argue. Alex Wright is mad at Deborah, but Deborah says that it's in Alex Wright's best interest to keep Deborah around because she made Steve McMichael a champion, and she will do the same thing for Alex Wright. So Alex says he'll give her another chance. Now we move to the broadcast position, where the pay-per-view broadcast team of Mike, Dusty, and Tony talk about the reason why the Giant is not in the arena tonight, saying that the Giant was actually set to appear tonight, but was asked to make an appearance at a local children's hospital, and instead of knocking heads in the WCW ring, he is putting smiles on kids' faces at the local hospital. And Tony mentions this is why WCW has the greatest wrestlers in the world today. Now we move to the next contest, which is Chris Benoit versus Chris Jericho. If you remember, either last week on Nitro or the week before that, Chris Benoit, Chris Jericho, and the guy's name is slipping my mind, but somebody else fought in a triple threat match for the WCW. Oh, Disco Inferno. And Disco Inferno fought in a triple threat match for the WCW television title. Benoit won. Disco got the pin. Disco got pinned. And I mentioned that this was not the end of the TV title of Jericho and Benoit challenging each other for the TV belt. And as you can see, with the fact that this match ended, well, if you can't see, then that's fine. But if you can see, it says Chris Benoit drew with Chris Jericho at about 12 minutes This is just the beginning of the feud between Benoit and Jericho over the TV belt. And the seeds were planted back at 2 weeks ago on Nitro because Jericho was frustrated and about the fact that he lost but didn't get pinned, so he wanted a rematch. Now we move to the next segment in the ring with Gene Okerlund and Kurt Hennig, as actually Mean Gene calls Kurt Hennig to the ring doing his usual. I'd like to introduce my guest at this time, NWO member Kurt Hennig. Kurt comes to the ring with Ravishing Rick Rude, and Gene Okerlund asks, Hennig, last week on Nitro, you assaulted Bret Hart following his match against Buff Bagwell. What was your intention? Why? Why did you attack Bret Hart? And was it a preempted attack on the Hitman due to his... You know what, Gene? I'm going to stop you right there. Because you're going to put your foot in your mouth, and I'm going to stop you before you do, because I'm in a really good mood. And I'm going to be even in a better mood when the NWO clean sweeps tonight. When the NWO when Hogan and Savage put their differences aside and we can become a family again and be just as strong as we were before. But the reason I attacked Bret Hart is because Bret Hart thinks he can just come into WCW and not have to prove himself and just base where he should be by where he was up north. Well, Hitman, it ain't like it is up north. Here, you have to prove yourself, because unlike up north, we have competition here. And if you think that you can just base what you did where you are here by what you did somewhere else, you are in the wrong place, my friend. You want to prove yourself. The Macho Man isn't how you prove yourself. And I want the reason, and that's one of the reasons why I attacked you last week. Because not only did you come in like you're the big man on campus automatically because of what you did somewhere else, but you disrespected the Macho Man. You disrespected me, and you disrespected the NWO. And Bret, that's something you just don't do, Mike. That's something you just don't do, boy. There's gonna come a time in every man's life when they gotta look themselves in the mirror and realize that they're half the man that they used to be. And Brett, you've reached that point. 'Cause you ain't the best anymore. That spot is already taken. Right around that time, Bret Hart darts towards the ring, and Kurt Hennig and Rick Rude both escape before Bret Hart can get his hands on them. As Kurt Hennig seems to have gotten into the head of the Hitman. Now we move to the next contest as Diamond Dallas Page is up against another member of the Flock. This time, he's up against Perry Saturn. And Diamond Dallas Page once again puts together a solid match, a 70, against Perry Saturn. Against a member of the Flock that and with the members of the Flock, very few people actually have had the ability to put forth a very good match against members of the Flock. But DDP did it not once, but twice. And the feud continues with DDP and Raven. But now, DDP gets one step closer to Raven as he's sent packing both Hammer and Perry Saturn. Now, following the match, DDP grabs a mic and says this: Raven, I beat your muscle. I beat your second in command. Now it's my turn to take you on face to face, man to man. Just me and you, 1-on-1. If you're man enough, Raven, come on out here and face me right now. Nothing happens. Raven, I know that you like to attack from behind. I know you like having power in numbers. But right now, I sent packing half of the Flock, and I will keep knocking down your Flock members until I get in the ring with you and get my revenge on you. And I will keep defending this, holding up the United States Heavyweight title, because there is nothing in my career that I've done thus far that I'm more proud of than this championship belt right here in my hand. I will defend this title with pride and honor every time I step between these ropes. And Raven, that is something you will never know. Be a man and step up and face me, so you can be just like your members, and you can feel the bang. We move to the next segment, and it is another talking segment. This talking segment is very short and concise because somebody comes out. Not soon after Eric starts talking. So I'm just gonna say I would let Eric write his own promo. He's the booker. He knows how to talk quite well. And it's only maybe a 2-3 minute promo. That's about it. If that. It's only a minute or two before this happens. So, fact of the matter is, really doesn't matter how long Eric talks, because a minute or two into what he's saying, Big Kev comes out. So, what happens here? Well, Eric says, Kevin, remember, you cross me again, you will end up like your friend Scott Hall on the unemployment line, which he will be, I promise you, when he loses to Sting tonight. Because you and Scott need to face facts. Not only are you more powerful and more relevant with the NWO, but you will not be the ones to beat Sting. The only person that can beat Sting is Hollywood Hulk Hogan. He is the only one who can beat Sting. And there's nothing you can do to change that. Because another fact is, if you even show your face in the main event, you will be fired, and Scott Hall will lose by forfeit. Right after Eric says that, and right before Kevin can get on the mic, look who comes out. It is the representative of the WCW Championship Committee, James J. Dillon, who I think may be replaced by somebody else because he's not very good. But he does his job for right now. And J.J. Dillon comes out and says, Eric, you want to be a dictator? You want to abuse your power? That was fine years ago. That was fine a few years ago. But now you can't abuse your power because you share power with the WCW Championship Committee. And I have to say, Eric, that as the Vice President of the WCW Championship Committee, I am passing down this decree that if you are banning Kevin Nash from ringside and have set forth the ultimatum that if Kevin Nash shows his face at ringside during the match, he will be fired, then I have to say this to you, Eric. If anybody from the NWO thinks to get involved in the main event to try and make sure Scott Hall loses, they will be fired. Because, for once, let's have a main event of a pay-per-view end with a clear-cut winner. And the only way I can do that, Eric, is by banning your faction from ringside. And if they show their face, just like you did to Kevin Nash, they will be fired. And you? I have this decree from this ultimatum for you from Dr. Harvey Schiller that if you even think about appearing in the main event, you will be suspended indefinitely without pay, Eric. You're already on a short leash. You don't want to push the dog when you're already barking up the wrong tree. JJ, you should have quit while you were ahead. You want it where nobody gets where no interference? You got it. If the NWO, I don't agree. You know what? I don't really care what you say. Fact is, Scott Hall doesn't need help to lose. He was always a weak link anyway. I said it and I meant it. Kevin Nash and Scott Hall can't beat Sting. The only one who can is Hollywood Hulk Hogan. And he's getting ripped. He's getting screwed out of his number one contendership because of the outsiders. So they should just do a favor to the WCW and just go away. Kevin, you don't want to do that. Kevin Nash is approaching Eric Bischoff. Now Eric Bischoff runs from the ring as the segment comes to a close. Now we move to the next match, which is the highly anticipated tag team title match, which was contested in a dog collar chain match between the Faces of Fear, Mangan the Barbarian, and the Steiner Brothers. And of course, the Steiner Brothers walk away victorious in what was a hard-hitting brawl between two of the top tag teams in the WCW. But the finale of the feud between the Faces of Fear and the Steiners has come to a close. And now we move to the next segment, which is Gene Okerlund with the Macho Man Randy Savage. And much like Eric's segment earlier, and I believe another segment before that, Roddy Piper, Ric Flair, and Dusty Rhodes' segment, you and I both know there hasn't been a segment that Randy Savage has done since the start of this that I've said that I actually scripted. I would give Randy the opportunity to talk, just to talk for 4 minutes about his match tonight against Hollywood Hulk Hogan for leadership rights of the New World Order. That's the direction, that's what he talks about. He would write out his entire segment, word for word, just for himself. I would okay it because he never disappoints. Just ignore that. This is a video package. The next segment is a video package highlighting the brief history that, the history that Randy Savage and Hollywood Hogan have, and what's brought them to this point. Now we move to the next segment, which is Hollywood Hogan versus Randy Savage for the #1 contendership, for the leadership of the New World Order, and Hollywood Hogan walks away victorious from a hard-fought match, which featured great action, and the crowd was incredibly into it, rooting for the Macho Man all the way. But we also saw interference from numerous members of the NWO, including Buff Bagwell, Kurt Hennig, and Brian Adams. Also seeing a distraction by Rick Rude during the contest. Nobody was banned from ringside during the main event. But following that match, and Hollywood Hogan retaining leadership role of the NWO, look who comes out. Following the match, members of the New World Order continue to beat down Randy Savage as a way to teach him a lesson. But from out of nowhere, Kevin Nash's theme song plays, and Kevin Nash runs out to save Randy Savage from the 4-on-1 attack from the NWO. But now the question is does this mean Randy is joining Scott and Kevin? Is Randy out of the NWO? Now we move to the next segment, back to the broadcast position with Dusty, Mike, and Tony, as Dusty, Mike, and Tony talk about the significance of the main event tonight. Title versus career, Scott Hall versus Sting. We get an entrance from Scott Hall for the match tonight, and then we get another entrance from Sting as the match is ready to begin, and David Penzer and Michael Buffer gets the special introductions. Well, are you ready? It doesn't really fit anymore because, as you see on your screen, this is the main event. Sting, Scott Hall for the WCW World Heavyweight title, and for the first time in Sting's title reign as WCW Champion, the title match at the pay-per-view ends in a clear-cut finish, as Sting defeats Scott Hall in a very good match, and Scott Hall's career in WCW has come to a close as Scott Hall lost title versus career. Following the match, though I didn't include it, Scott Hall and Sting would shake hands and embrace, as Sting just realized one of his closest friends in real life is gone from WCW. And the fact is, this is also planting seeds for this also should be planting seeds for a Scott Hall babyface turn, but because of how I went, no. Which is why I didn't include it. Because of the fact that I felt like it was too much of a shoot. And, because also Scott Hall's fired, so, but, let's say this, for the live crowd it happened, for the pay-per-view crowd, no it didn't. Because I feel, that's the reason why I didn't include it, because I felt like if it happened in real life, too many people would be asking questions. Well, that's beside the point. This show is probably by far one of the better ones I've done in this How I Would Book It. And maybe this is the launching point for the rest of the series. Well, that's it for this edition of How I Would Book It, WCW 1998. Remember, leave a comment down in the comment section below. Let me know what you thought of the show. Also, don't forget to like, subscribe to the YouTube channel for more unique content just like this that you can only find right here on Wrestling Express. Till next time.